Afternoon, everybody. Back from the trip, and the question is, did you learn anything, or do you have any insights your first night really being out away from home, sleeping in Little Rascal? And well, yeah, I do have some takeaways and some things to share, and I'm happy to do that with you guys. One of the first takeaways is the difference between, say, being in a full-size Class A coach like the GMC I used to have, the Rolling Rancho. It was 26 feet long. It weighed about 50% more than this coach does, and that made a big impact when it came to parking the rig on a city street. Now, what do I mean by that? Specifically, I mean when I was parking the GMC RV, it's a Janet and the boss's house. I had to use the levelers to level up the rig, and well, the suspension was so soft on it that even with full-on lifts on one side, I always had the sensation I was kind of tilted a little bit, or not perfectly level. Of course, I know that could have been addressed and fixed up, but I parked in the same location, and this has a much stiffer suspension in it, and I never had the sense that I was down, sleeping on a downhill slope, being close to a curb. Now, one thing that makes a difference, of course, is on the inside is instead of sleeping across the back like the GMC, you're sleeping forward backwards, which makes a big difference, I think, on the sensation of being up and down. So I really enjoyed that in the camper van, having that. The other thing that really paid off was having the good 10 gauge power cord, 100 feet long. Yeah, it cost about $150. It's heavy. It weighs about 35 pounds. There's a lot of copper there, but when I plugged in the GMC and ran the little space heater last fall out on the road and was plugged in, I came out in the morning and the plug had burned up, and I thought to myself, wow, I'm lucky I didn't have a fire. And of course I was using a very light gauge contractor, what they call contractor grade, and I thought, oh, I should be able to run a little space heater on it, but no, you know, in conjunction with the draw from the refrigerator or whatever, it was all burnt up, the end of it. So it was highly dangerous. So I'm really glad I got the upgraded cord, and boy, is this the upgraded cable, and boy, is this heavy, and is this good. So that's one takeaway. Make sure you have a really good cable for sure power hookup. Now, of course, your rig, a lot of the big Class A's and things, they'll have the onboard storage, and this has about 20 feet that can pull out of the rig, but sometimes that's not enough. You know, I had to reach 50 feet or so to the garage at the boss's house and to comfortably plug in there. So this was a real blessing to have this with me. The other great thing that I decided to do was to take the Ethernet cable with me. Category 5 Ethernet cables are very cheap. They're only like 10 bucks, $8, $9, $10, 100-foot length. That's the blue cord that's running there. And you never know when you're going to go to a trailer park, and you might get in good with the manager, or you might find a good spot close to the building, and you might just ask the manager, would you mind if I just hardwired my Ethernet into instead of using the Wi-Fi, could I just run my cable maybe through your window and plug it into the back of the router that you're using for the whole process? Okay, you know, that's all right, Chuck, sure, go ahead, you know. You're a good guy, I like you, yeah, go ahead, that'll enhance your signal. Well, that really helped, because I was able to run the 100 feet from the rig up the steps and into the bedroom, the master bedroom where the router was, plug in there and have a good signal. From what somebody was telling me on the hangout last night, you don't really degrade a signal until about 300 feet, or the length of a football field. So 100 feet, and I had a good signal last night. So invest the $10 and carry an Ethernet cable with you, category 5 cable. It's very lightweight, very effective, and you never know when you might have a chance to acquire hardwired Ethernet. The difference between hardwired and Wi-Fi is like night and day. Let's go inside and talk about some other things I learned. Of course, I did not sleep on the top side up here. That was by design. I didn't have Jen sleep in the rig because it wasn't ready for prime time. But now I come to believe that you don't have to really open this bed up all the way. She would be very comfortable being on this and sleeping in this position. And that's probably going to be an important consideration when she comes along, simply because I'm going to be sleeping up here. And again, you can see the beautiful cushions that were done. And one of my subscribers suggested that I just get the curtain material made out of them, and I think that's a kind of a cool idea for the panel inserts to go over these windows, because I can't boondock unless I have absolutely no light coming inside at all. So may design something that just goes right on the front as coverage, black on one side and the material showing on the inside. I don't really need fancy frilly curtains up here, and this is really beautiful material that goes well with the burgundies, but I don't think sleeping up here would be an issue. Now I've got to be able to get a ladder in here, and this top pulls all the way back to about here, so it's very important. That ladder is going to come down in this area, and if this bed is open, well, that's going to be a lot of difficulty. How am I going to get down on a ladder? I have to step on this, and well, you guys know the potential for boning yourself is really serious. You know, crawling around these rigs, you could really get hurt doing that. So we're going to test that out and have some sleeping in here and see what Jen thinks about sleeping on that. We're going to do a test run with me up on top and her here, so it'll be interesting. Let's talk about some other things I learned, because I just started the fridge up, and I got on the before I left a couple days ago, I had the fridge turned on. Well, one mistake I made was I never adjusted the temperature. I just turned it on and it was in the max position. And as a result, I had some Coors beers. They were sitting up in here, and a couple of Bobby's cans of Budweiser. And what actually happened was, you can see this is, the ice expanded, and it actually popped the top on these containers. And the Coors Light, these froze, and pushed the cap off. And it allowed beer to spill down in there. Not a lot, because it has the safety lip that kind of keeps it from coming over the edge. So I was kind of lucky in that regard. So now I backed the temperature down to about a 5. This is a very strong cooling unit. I think it's relatively new, this unit. So lesson learned. Make sure you adjust your temperature so you don't have any freeze disasters going on. I learned the toilet works well here, even out boondocking. Even on the darkest night, I don't think you have to turn a light on to use the toilet. There was enough ambient street light. Plus, you know me, guys, I didn't want to give a show for the neighbors, so that worked out okay. And the lighting was good in here too. I'm very happy that I carried, and you might consider this too, so you don't have to use the propane. I brought the portable heater along, and boy, did that make a difference in being comfortable. Got really chilly about 2 o'clock in the mid-40s, and I was really glad at 2 a.m. I could set that up and have that oscillate. Just make sure you're on a heavy cable for plug-in, okay? Because that does draw, you know, about a 500, 800 watts or something like that. But that was a really nice thing to invest in to carry along. So I really liked having that. Everything else worked well. The other thing that I want to consider is bringing another light along, a good light. This helped a lot with adding to light beyond just the 12-volt system. If you're going to be running on generator or something, you use a little more natural light. The other thing I think that I learned was it was very smart to take a multi-outlet socket here with me. So instead of having just settling for the one outlet with two plug-in potentials there, I have this up here besides that, and that really paid off really well for me. So I'm really glad that I brought that along. Other than that, I learned that I can be very comfortable in a Class B. And the totality of the experience for me was driving was good. We were on some slick roads today because we had the first wet roads with just a 5 minutes of a little bit of sprinkle. First wet roads we'd really had since March. So, you know, it's our dry season. And I would have been worried with the GMC because roads are very slick when you get the first rain after a long time. All those road oils come up. So it's like this baby gripped the road like nobody's business. So I had the comfort of having an easy rig to drive, plus the comfort of sleeping better here than I ever slept in the GMC, because in the GMC in the back we were sleeping across this way, and here we're sleeping forward, front to back in a rig. And I think that makes a big difference if you can't get things perfectly level. So great trip, good times. That's some of my takeaways. I'm so happy to have this rig, and I'm even happier to have you guys along. And I've got lots of good video coming up of the weekend, and you'll be seeing that this week, as well as the electrical system install part 2 will be coming up. And you're really going to love to see the upgraded electrical panel and all that being put in. That performed like a champ. The water pump also worked well. The system here, it maintained pressure, never really went off. I don't have any leaky lines, and that is a wonderful thing. So, all right, my takeaways, some of the things I've learned on this weekend. The last thing is, this step is terrible here. This is absolutely horrendous. I know you're supposed to walk out backwards, but we're going to do some real modifications on this because it's a real pain in the butt. It's a safety issue to get in and out of the rig, especially if you're Missy Jen. And I've got to gear a lot of this stuff I do towards making sure that her safety is preserved. Okay. Thanks for being along, everybody, and stay tuned. You know, there's always more to come. My 1988 Coachmen Class B Dearborn Edition van camper. Thanks, everyone.